मुझे भीख मांगेगा। क्या यही अच्छे दिनों का वादा किया था?
क्या हो रहा है भारत में?
आज हर चीज महंगाई, पैसन की तबाही।
सुबह 4 बजे उठ के वो उसको लाइन लगाना,
दवाई भवाई को पैसा ना है और मेरे बच्चे बीमार है। भ्रष्टाचार कहाँ पर बंद हो रहे हैं? भ्रष्टाचार कहाँ जा रहे हैं?
आप बताओ मैं कहाँ जाऊँ 500 का नोट लेकर?
10 कस्टमर था, 2 हो गया।
दिन में पूरा पेटी फेंका है मच्छी का।
इस काले धन से देश को मुक्त कराने के लिए, भ्रष्टाचार से देश को मुक्त कराने के लिए आप जो कष्ट उठा रहे हो कभी बेकार नहीं जाएगा। देश सोने की तरह तप करके बाहर निकलेगा। बेनामी संपत्ति गैर कानूनी होगी और कॉन्फिस्केट कर ली जाएगी, जब्त कर ली जाएगी, इसका भी कानून सर।
जो भी बेनामी संपत्ति होगी, दूसरे के नाम की संपत्ति होगी, कानूनन अब उस पर हमला बोलने वाले। देश में से गरीबों की मदद करना मेरा कर्तव्य मानती है और मैं उसको करके रहूंगा।
Well, since the announcement of the demonetisation drive on the 8th of November, the biggest and most often asked questions, viewers, is will real estate prices crash? Will the real estate market, which has already been under severe stress, now have reason to drop its prices, finally making homes that most Indians can afford? Now, here are the reasons in favour of a falling real estate market. Real estate, which has been a channel for black money, will now have to stop all cash transactions. Unofficial, under-the-counter funding for projects that was entirely cash-based will have to stop as well. The slowdown in consumption that we're seeing across our entire economy will cause people to postpone their plans of buying homes, putting more pressure on prices. And finally, lowering prices of land, and the land market has largely been a cash market. If land prices come down, then prices of finished homes should come down as well. The question we're asking tonight on the Urban Debate, viewers, and I ask this of you too as I open up our phone lines, will the real estate market crash? Will homes now become affordable? On the show with me this evening, Rohit Gera of Gera Developments says no, the prices will not crash. Ambar Maheshwari of Indiabulls Asset Management says no, the prices will not crash. On the other side, Ramesh Prabhu, Chairman of the Maharashtra Societies Welfare Association, says prices will crash, along with Uday Wavikar, Vice President of the Consumer Court Bar Association, who agrees as well. Ramesh Nair, COO at JLL, says prices will hold up. Anshuman Magazine says prices will hold up as well. Sunny Katyal is the director of the Investors Clinic, who hasn't given us his verdict yet. I'm going to open up this debate with Uday Wavikar and Rohit Gera. Uday Wavikar, why do you believe prices of real estate will crash now?
Look at the development aspect of the India for that matter, and come to the various urban cities. If you look at India, RERA was a threat for developers already. 70% of the entire project amount has to be locked in the project. All the incomplete projects were going to come in. Already the builders are under stress as far as RERA is concerned. Thereafter, the new demonetisation has come, and absolutely I will tell you that the other builders, apart from A1 builders or class builders who are already taking in white, are bound to be affected by this, because where is that 60-40 would come in? And thirdly, if you look at Prime Minister announcement that the next surgical operation will be on Benami transactions on the property, that itself would take away the investors totally out of the property, because it was understood even in redevelopment, there were a lot of Benami transactions of certain people who were investing for resale. Now that investment is going to be really scared. People are going to have a distressed sell. So there also the properties would come down. And secondly, even developers do not have finances to complete their targets. So where the second class builder or the immediate next class builders who are doing small projects or the other projects are definitely under a big crunch. Only my concern is there are some WhatsApp coming and there are some SMS coming saying that yes, we will accept 5,000 and 1,000 rupees, 80-20 property can be bought with this. Now that is where the government must act now.
All right, let me bring in Rohit Gera. Rohit Gera, builders don't have, this is Uday Wavikar's argument that the builders don't have the finance right now to complete construction. Prices are going to have to come down.
So Faye, I think the issues that we face are certainly challenging. There are headwinds, there's no doubt about this. Okay, but I think as we've seen in the past, all the pundits who've been kind of predicting prices will crash when there was, you saw a lot of debt on the balance sheets of the listed developers. It didn't cause a crash. We talked about NCR will crash and therefore all India will crash. Look, I think it's really important for us to understand that real estate consists of land, it consists of apartments for the luxury segment, apartment to the affordable segment, apartments which are then sold by the reputed developers, by the formal sector to people who have salaries, who are taking home loans, and there is residential real estate which is sold to people who have got who pay cash. Okay, so it's not that there isn't cash in the sector. The other thing to keep in mind is the developers who are stretched are the fly-by-night operators, okay? Like Mr. Wavikar pointed out, I completely agree with that there are some small-time developers who are stretched.
Rohit, allow me, please. Yeah. The Unitech is not a fly-by-night operator. That is not a small builder. It is not it's not a builder we can define as a developer who's stretched because they're small and unorganized.
Each of your debates.
Yes.
Any business comes with risk, okay? If a developer took a risk and got caught on the wrong side of it, you can't flog that horse over and over on every show. I'm sorry. There are other developers who are large, who are doing well, who are delivering and will continue to deliver. My point is only this. You will see prices coming down for those who are stretched, for those who are stressed. My suggestion and advice to consumers is, if you're going to go after a developer who's cutting prices indiscriminately, because he is stretched and stressed, it makes no sense to go after that developer and pay money there because your investment may never see the light of day.
All right, I'm going to bring in Ramesh Prabhu right now. Ramesh Prabhu, do you agree that Unitech is a one-off case of a risk that did not play out and we shouldn't be flogging it on every show? Are there enough cases like that of different sizes?
There are enough cases. Even today's Times of India has carried, and you can see alternative days. There are economic offences which are getting registered with a lot of developers who have sold, more than the available inventory, and the same flats are being sold to 2 or 3 people. The unscrupulous builders who are unnecessarily, hike the prices and whatever they have done, definitely they will find a day where they have to put everything into halt, and therefore the prices have to come down. Now there is a affordable housing for all, where the FSI and various salt plants and various things are getting opened up, and because of all this, demonetisation and RERA, all these, a lot of developers are really facing problems, and therefore I am of the firm opinion that the prices have to fall and it will fall.
All right, let me bring in more voices. Ramesh Nair, prices have to fall and they will fall.
In our country, everyone is an expert in 2 things. One is cricket and the other is real estate. So everyone has their comments. I have seen on your channel itself over the last 10 days how so many stock market gurus have been coming and talking about how all money will go into equity and how real estate markets will crash 30, 40, 50%. See, if the real estate markets had to crash, it would have crashed in 2008 post-Lehman. Even post-Lehman, if you notice, when some of the global banks which had predicted that everything is going to go up, when their market cap went down by 95%, real estate in a market like Bombay had just corrected around 12 to 14%.
Okay, so let me rebut that. Let me rebut that, Ramesh. Because you and I have been doing shows on this channel and on our sister channel ET Now for several years now. And right through the election of 2014, we had conversations where we said there is money that's going to drain out of the real estate market to be used for elections by politicians that will then come back. That, by definition, is black money. That is the money that has been propping up our market from crash to crash. It held up the market in 2008 during Lehman Brothers. It held up the market again over the last couple of years. The reason why sales have come down but prices have not come down is because there's unaccounted for money that's holding the market up. If that money drains out, then what happens?
We track the top 8 cities, the top 8 markets in the country. I would say the component of black there would be limited to maximum of 10% of the market. Today, anyway, the investors and speculators and people who are putting in cash into the market have gotten out over the last 4 years because they're not seeing the kind of capital appreciation they used to see. So that market is cleaned up. If I was sitting in this studio 15 years back, I would have said there's so many markets with 50, 60% of cash. But that's changed. Look at today all the institutional plays. Look at how much of money is being lent by the housing financial institutions. Look at all the real estate lending being done by...
the prices that we are at right now, Ramesh, in terms of residential real estate, so homes that are being sold in Mumbai, this is the real price of those homes?
Real estate is a demand, supply and affordability game, Faye. So if there is demand in a micro market, you will see the prices going up. If there's huge amount of supply, which we are seeing in a market like NCR, prices are going down. And if it's affordable for the category of people which are residents in that vicinity, prices would obviously have an impact on that.
So you are saying 10% of the real estate market is cash. This is both funding and
10%
sales.
of the deals involve cash is what I'm saying. See, look at markets like Chennai.
Please don't go ahead and put a blanket statement across 10% of the entire sector is cash. I think, that's clearly not what he said. I think that's exactly the problem, where we go ahead and, pick up something which is in one area and then we go ahead and paint the entire sector on that basis.
Okay, all right. So let's be aware of the fact that real estate is not just Mumbai, Delhi, Pune and Bangalore. There are a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 markets that will be affected. But Ramesh, if we take those markets into consideration, you said you track 8 cities. I'm going to ask you to right now step out of those 8 cities. What is the rest of the country like?
So if there are markets, like I've heard of tier 3 and tier 4 markets, which have huge amount of cash deals which happen even on the primary front, those markets will get impacted. So that's the whole
next point. What happens when the cities that we're talking about, the 6-8 big cities, when they expand and bring in land from villages around them, which we saw happen in the NCR, we're seeing it happen in Mumbai, in Pune, in Bangalore. What are those deals like?
Land aggregation will obviously get impacted. SRA will obviously get impacted. TDR is going to get impacted. All these have a certain amount of cash involved in it. Those will slow down. But that slowing down actually will have a reverse impact on price. If the land supply reduces, prices will automatically start going up over a period of time.
I will say here, because if you look at the economy of India, 96%, to the extent of 96%, it was a cash economy. Now suddenly you are sucking the entire cash flow in the market. Everything is bound to get affected, especially real estate, because it's a known thing. Even my builder friends know that there was an acceptable ratio of 80-20, 60-40, and all that is bound to get affected. I mean, I'm really surprised saying that nothing will get affected. Already
nobody said nothing will get affected.
I mean, Mr. Gera is optimistic. I said A-class builders, it will not get affected to the extent that because there is plastic money and white money there. But is everything there also is a white money? What about the club membership? What about the amenities? There are a lot of other hidden charges. Parking.
Once again, I don't think you can make a statement saying even in the A-grade developers that there is cash in any single transaction. I'm sorry, I disagree with you. You can come back and check what we've been doing and you will find nothing.
Gera builders may not be doing it. There are others. And there are complaints.
Let's bring in Sunny Katyal. Sunny Katyal is a broker who functions out of Noida. He also runs an investment clinic. Sunny Katyal, do you agree that only 10% of the deals, speaking specifically about the NCR market, what kind of a cash component are we looking at in the NCR market?
But can I share something else as well? Because we have to go one step up and we need to see there are two kinds of real estate markets. One is a primary market, which is a developer real estate development where, a developer buys the land and they develop something in a symmetry. There's a parallel economy, which is a secondary market where you have lands in bigas, acres, all those agriculture land, a normal Delhi plot, government allotted plots. A common man is developing their floors and selling it according to their own how they can sell and buy. All those transactions is happening. What you need to see, as we have sold 1 lakh properties till date in last 10 years, and what we have seen is more than 95% transactions is clear white. People suffer in arranging even 10% money for the remaining 80% loan to get sanctioned.
You're telling me, Sunny Katyal, you're telling me in the NCR region, 95% of the deals that happen in the NCR region are all white. That's what you're telling me on live television today?
Absolutely. So that's very important to see because I'm talking about
I'm going to open up the phone lines to anybody from the NCR region who wants to rebut Sunny Katyal on the fact that 95% of the deals that happen in real estate in Delhi, Noida, Gurgaon are all white. I'll also bring in Anshuman magazine and Ambar Maheshwari. Anshuman, where do you stand on whether or not property prices will crash?
See, first of all, it is very difficult to forecast what's going to happen. There is no doubt, like someone commented, if you take out, economy is all about consumption. And if you take out so much liquidity out of the system, it is going to have an impact. But the other facts are that the market was already slow. Cost of construction has gone up. And it will depend, the impact will depend on the supply and demand situation every micro market. Overall, what will happen is I don't expect the prices to crash because real estate is not as liquid. It takes time for the impact to be felt there. And again, it would be a micro market where the prices are, a lot of the projects right now which are coming up, the new projects, the prices are competitive now because of the market. Market has been slow for a few years now. So if this was a peak market, the impact would have been much more. They would be, overall, I don't see there will be a major impact on the prices. But what is going to happen, I think where the big impact is going to be, the historical increases we have seen in real estate, which were totally unrealistic, where you would buy into an apartment and it doubles in prices in a short period of time, that is not going to happen. The fact is also that over the years, because the market has been slow, the supply has been constrained, right? At the same time, on the demand side, there is still large number of people who don't have their own house. So there is a large end user demand. And with the supply constraint, with the supply coming less, the demand really increasing, I would say, as there would be more people coming to urban areas. So I don't expect the prices to crash, but I certainly don't expect what we have seen historically happening where the prices are going crazily up. That's not going to happen, which is really good for the market. I feel once things settle down, there will be more transactions happening in the market. Eventually, one of the reasons why Indian real estate market, residential market prices went up so high was because of inefficiency. And I think with this step, with bringing in RERA, other things, efficiency will improve. And as efficiencies improve, I expect more investment to come into the real estate sector.
All right, Ambar Maheshwari, everyone we've spoken to over the last 2 weeks, everyone we've spoken to over the last 2 weeks have told us that retail of every kind, official, unofficial, malls, standalone stores, and especially discretionary retail is down between 40 to 70%. If consumption is down that drastically, are you telling me it will not impact the real estate sector?
So, two things here, Faye. First of all, we need to understand that real estate demand is slightly different compared to every other sector's demand. Just to address this particular question of yours, if you're not buying your soaps and shampoos, say in the year 2016, that demand perishes. And in 2017, whatever demand comes is new demand, right? Whereas real estate, particularly residential real estate demand is very, very different. It doesn't perish. I mean, if I could just explain this with an example, let's say a guy who was 30 years old in the year 2011, right? And a lot of panelists here have said that there has been a huge slowdown for the last 4 to 5 years in real estate, particularly residential real estate. Not many people have bought houses. So the 30-year-old guy in 2011 who was looking to buy a house hasn't bought it till date because he was thinking it's going to come off and, prices will fall and he'll buy it at an appropriate time. That time hasn't come. Does that mean that that demand has perished? That demand is accumulating of a lot of those 30-year-old guys who are now 34, 35, 36, 37 years old and have not yet bought that apartment. Everything is accumulated now, and the moment buyers feel that this is the right time to buy or an appropriate time to buy, all of that demand comes in at one shot. And which is why I, have a different view, slightly different view compared to what Anshuman said, that, the days of overnight doubling will not happen. I don't think so. I think the nature of real estate industry is such that, because a lot of demand is consolidated and accumulated over the last 4 to 5 years, that all of this is going to come in at one shot. And suddenly we will see a situation where supply
the optimism
will not
be... of someone who is invested in real estate. Uday Wavikar, do you agree?
I was about to come, thanks. The point is, masala dosa was 25 paise 30 years back. 25 paise to it has gone to say 50 rupees today, or it is about 100 and odd percentage. But the flat prices, by given the data, went up in city like Mumbai and other urban cities to the extent of even 300%. The best investment more than the gold, silver or even diamonds. So therefore, that kind of doubling or tripling will not happen now. It is impossible to happen that. And therefore, the investors who came in already are scared with Modi's next surgical operation. With that kind of, you look at the redevelopment aspect of city of Mumbai, look really from where the finances are coming for such development. Now, whether this development would really go on and whether these developers would afford now, that is one. Second is, because of this expectation, when the investment has been taken out by the resellers, naturally the demand is going to fall, and on the fall of demand, naturally the prices has to crash because ready flats have to be sold. The builders can't.
Faye, can I paint you?
So two things here, Faye.
Yeah.
I think firstly, when we talk about the impact of demonetization, right? And whether it is in terms of price, whether it is in terms of demand and so on and so forth, it's again like a lot of people here have said that, things are going to unfold, people are going to see how things are panning out and so forth. So in the short term, the transaction volume will go down significantly. Nobody is going to buy, nobody is going to sell. People who are going to...
So according to you, demand is when someone wants to buy a house but doesn't buy a house. That's still demand?
Absolutely. At some point in time, it will fructify.
That's need.
At some point in time, it will have to fructify.
Ramesh Prabhu?
See, as he has rightly pointed out, that there is going to be, postponing the demand. Accordingly, the builders and the developers who have invested the money, they have borrowed the money, they are paying the interest. Naturally, they will be, forced to sell the stock, inventory to encash. And otherwise, there will be auctioning of their property and other things. So
allow me to explain this a little bit more.
Yeah, investors are not going to come. The sentiment is going to be such, and postponing 1 year or 2 years does not affect. So therefore, there is a lot of FSI is going to come up, the regulation is coming, and a lot of transparency happening, and therefore, a lot of other developers also will come in the market, where the supply also is going to go up, 100% supply is going to go up, because the one-time developers who used to be there now, there will be A-class developers who will be coming into it, multinationals will come in. So I think supply will increase. So therefore, the demand definitely may increase little later, but for the next 1 or 2 years,
Okay, Ambar, you want to rebut that?
It will fall the prices.
No, my only rebut there is, if you're telling me that the market is going to be sluggish, I can't imagine more supply coming or more new entrants in this market that is sluggish. Okay, Ramesh, you want to rebut that?
See, the thing is, when the markets went down in post-Lehman, I'm just coming back to that, even then, the 10 to 20% correction, and then the markets all over India have actually rebounded back from 60 to 90% in the last 6 to 7 years. Now, that's what the stability of the real estate market is. We also need to look at some of the positives of these impact. You need to give me like a minute to tell about some of these positives. If there's so much of money in the banking system, obviously interest rates are going to come down, which means demand is going to go up. If there's so much of money in the system, I'm sure that will be used for infrastructure, which obviously helps real estate. If there are so many people who've been actually forced to get into the banking system, which means number of people who will be eligible for loans will go up, which will again drive real estate demand. All this means
there will be a lag effect, right, Ramesh?
There will be a lag. Next 2-3 months, there will be a little bit of lag. Construction work is definitely slowed down because there's no money to pay these daily wage laborers. See, the biggest
from what I understand,
I'll just finish
cement is not coming in, sand is not coming into construction sites. So,
see, the biggest point, Faye, here is the market is becoming a lot more transparent. And if the Indian real estate market becomes more transparent, we're going to see huge amount of foreign fund inflows, global capital flows. If you look at it, a city like New York gets around $50 billion. Entire India gets only $4 billion. And that's because of our rating in the transparency. If this is going to improve look at the global capital which can come into India.
Okay, so my question then to Ramesh and to Rohit and anybody else who's saying that the market is going to hold up and investors are going to come in. If we take the point that the top rung of this market, which is clean, which does all white, which has funding from proper sources, what percentage of our total real estate market will fall into that category, Ramesh?
Really, if you look at it, the urban cities like Mumbai, there is no other place but to go up. And when I say go up, it's only redevelopment.
I want to understand this, Ramesh. What percentage of our total real estate market, including Tier 2 and Tier 3, is organized and properly funded and is doing only white transactions?
That's a good question.
It's tough to predict that, Faye.
Give me a ballpark. Is it 15%?
See, if you look at all these,
5%?
see, at least the IT markets, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune, there is very, very less of cash because all the buyers are IT professionals, services professionals, people working in the manufacturing sector. These people anyway don't have any cash generation possibility. So they just pay salaries. Okay, there are markets like NCR, some pockets in Bombay, where there is cash involved.
In Bangalore, in Chennai and Hyderabad, there are builders who build only 4 floors, 5 floors per building. That is a heavily cash market. And the reason why I'm asking this, and Rohit, if you want to answer
these are
this,
markets, again, which have demand of close to 30-40,000 units a year.
Fair enough. If you're telling me that these markets, these unofficial markets, are the ones that will take a beating, how will the top 20% hold their prices when the rest of the bottom falls out? That's my question. Rohit Gera,
I think let's break this up into a couple of different things, right? One is, where does the black money go? Two areas. One is it goes into the land, it goes into the developer for his fund requirement at the project cost side. Okay, if that dries up, please understand those developers will be driven out of this industry. That's going to cause a shortage in terms of new projects to be launched. I grant you that may take some amount of time. That's all good news as far as the industry is concerned for the professional developers. If you look at markets like Pune, Bangalore, which we're talking about, most of the homes today, these markets are sustaining and have had tremendous growth purely on the back of people who are taking mortgages for their homes. I'll tell you this, I talk to my customers, I've had them tell me, look, I've taken borrowed money for that 15% down payment, not just from my parents, also from my in-laws. Okay, these kids don't have the money to go out and then withdraw another 15% in cash. So there is a huge part of the market. And I dare say it's nearly 70 to 80% where people are taking loans, getting mortgages and buying these homes. These are all in the 4, 5, 3,000, 6,000 a square foot price point as far as a market like Pune is concerned. These customers, the demand is pent up. We've had 3 or 4 really bad years. Right. Okay, developers have been struggling for all these years. If they've held up their prices this long, this is a blip. This is a matter of a quarter or two. They've held up this long for, this badly for this long. Therefore, I don't think that we're going to see things come tumbling down. So I think it's a matter of time. I agree. Some segments will necessarily be affected.
All right. Let me take
if I can address that question of yours, how much is white and of what percentage does it turn out to be?
Yes.
If you look at one statistic, mortgage to GDP ratio. Right, our GDP is about $2.1 trillion right now, and mortgages are at 10% of GDP. That turns out to be $200 billion. Now, if you estimate the housing market to be, say, 40-50% of your GDP, in developed countries it's 80%, in places like US and everything, it's a little more than 100% and so forth. But if 10% of your GDP, which is $200 billion, is the mortgage industry, then, I tend to agree with Rohit's view that 70-80% is all right.
Let's be real here. Let's be honest. Has this market not taken a hit? Is this not a market in distress? Ambar, yes or no?
So
is this a market in distress or not? Yes or no?
It could be a market. It is a market in distress today.
It is a market in distress.
But Faye, it is a market in distress today.
And demonetisation, as pointed out by the government itself, is targeted at the real estate market.
No, so if you give me 2 minutes by the watch.
Okay, I will give you 2 minutes. Let me bring in Akhtar. Akhtar is on the phone line from Mumbai. Our phone lines are open for our viewers who want to join us on the show. Akhtar, if you can hear me, I'm sorry I kept you on hold for this long. Go ahead. What would you like to add to this conversation?
Faye, how are you? And, gentlemen of the panel. Okay. I have a different question, ma'am. It's apart from this debate. There are certain information doing rounds at the social media and WhatsApp and things. It's the EPPB, which is like property passport. How true is that? I mean, this is a...
I would like to throw light on this. There is going to be digitalizing entire land records, which has already started across India. And in fact, even if all stamp duty registration, everything is digitalized. And those documents are already available. So now those will be linked with the Aadhaar card and PAN card.
But this e-passbook, e-passbook that's doing the round on WhatsApp is not verified. That is not verified information to all of our viewers. That is not true. There is no government source that has verified that information. So if you receive it from a friend on WhatsApp, please scold that friend and tell them not to pass around information that is not true. Krishna's on the phone line from Bangalore. Krishna, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Krishna from Bangalore.
Yes, Krishna.
Yeah, my question is, once all the black money is collected, or it is getting the dividend to the government, no? What government is doing next? They are putting it back to the poor people, or reducing the taxes, or they are putting it to the defense, or connecting Ganga, Kaveri, or whatever else. They are not clear about it. What further government will be doing?
Well, honestly, Krishna, we can't predict what the government is going to do with that money. One hopes that it will move towards building a country that that moves forward. Anshuman magazine. Let's come back to home prices. Let's talk about the sales numbers over the last couple of years and the kind of inventory that's piling up in all of our markets. Tell me why you believe that will not hurt even more if sales slow down even further. Because evidence suggests sales are going to slow down even further.
Even the registration departments have given a prediction.
See, the registration, I'll just counter that. Registration over the last 10 days is definitely dropped. This is like a flood situation or a terrorist attack situation.
10 days, last 4 months.
The last thing what people would be worried about is going and registering their properties over the last 10 days. So you need to give a break to people also. So obviously they're going to come and register their properties over the next few months.
I like the optimism on part of various financial consultants here and the builders and developers who are A-class. They are thinking that even Mr. Trump would come and have a collaboration with them, and let's say
Which he has. But Mr. Trump does have a collaboration.
So I would say, we are looking at today's situation and impact, and overall on the India, this is going to be a drastic impact because the people are scared of next surgical operation. Investors are going to dry up from these areas. Redevelopment is going to really get affected. Or professionals would come. Mr. Gera, I agree with you. Professionals would come.
The last 4 years have anyway come down.
But how much?
What investors are you talking about?
Anshuman magazine. You want to read about that?
Investors was not there from last 3-4 years.
Yeah, exactly. the fact. So I think the first of all, in the short term, no doubt, the sales, because people are in that sitting on the fence and not taking decisions. So in the short term, there is no doubt that already the sales have slowed down, and they would be an impact. I don't think anybody can deny that. Okay. But at the same time, the fact is that there are WhatsApp messages going on. People use terms like surgical strike, etc. The fact is, nobody knows what the extent. I'm talking about as an economy. What will be the real impact of this cash being sucked out of the economy? I think it'll take 5-6 months before we really know that will it be as bad as we think, will it be better, or will it be worse? So first of all, anybody giving expert comments right now is just guessing, coming back to the real estate prices,
you
in the
agree
short
that
term,
next 6 months there is going to be
you mentioned about the supply, etc. The fact is overall the supply has reduced in residential. And if we are, and there will be no doubt pain in the short term, although again to define the short term is very difficult. It could be 3 months, it could be 9 months, but I still believe that overall this is going to be really positive for the real estate industry. The sales volume will come back only for one reason. If we are saying our GDP will grow at 7 to 8%, even more going forward, we are already at the bottom. All the government statistics show the amount of housing which is required is not there. There are millions of housing required. There are still millions of Indians who don't have housing, and they will need that housing. And this efficiency which will come in, I think this is a great move the government has done to suck out all the black money. And I always question the people who are talking against that have not given any other solution. This, along with all the positive things that are going to happen, RERA, etc., is going to bring efficiency.
I agree.
Someone talked
with
about
all
interest
of that,
rates.
but tell me from the NCR market.
And I think overall it's going to pick up the thing. And also, so the prices have already been flat for a few years, and the construction costs have gone up. So I don't think there is scope for prices to fall too much. No doubt in certain where there are plotted developments, no doubt in some of the tier 2, tier 3 cities, there will be an impact. I mean, that cannot be denied. But to say the crash will happen, 20% will drop across the country is just, I think, is nonsense, because it will depend on each micro market. We can't have one sticker for the entire country. You can't compare even within the city. If you look at Gurgaon.
Okay, so Anshuman, first of all, do you agree that 95% of the deals that happen in the NCR region are all white? Would you agree that 95% of the deals that happen in NCR region are all white, Anshuman?
Frankly, and to be honest, I don't know what the statistics are. The only thing what I know is over my lifetime in real estate, the amount of cash transactions in real estate have come down significantly. And the one of the big reasons is that that there was mortgage available, which was not there before. Large number of apartment sales, people who are buying are taking loans. But to say 95%, 75%, frankly, I don't have a clue what that percentage is. But I definitely know that it has come down drastically.
Let's talk about,
and with this move, it's going to come down
Let's
further.
talk about the,
which is fantastic for the industry.
Where we don't even get the numbers because they're completely cash transactions, Ramesh.
Faye, there are two things where developer typically needs cash for. One is...
Certainly, some of the primary markets will get impacted more,
See, the one is buying those lands which has been aggregated, where there is a certain amount of cash involved. And the second, which Rohit didn't mention, was obviously to get approvals. So the government should be working towards fixing that component. Obviously, they fixed the black component of aggregating land. Why don't they now work towards fixing? So any developer you ask, today they're saying, I'm searching for a new currency. Last week, a big developer told me that somebody asked him for gold biscuits. Now, there are new currencies already emerging where people need to give to get approvals. Why can't the government fix on working towards that? Rather than just talking the real estate, the developers making all the cash, and that's the reason the prices have gone up. If we can fix those, where does all this money going, then obviously the market can become maybe affordable.
Then the market can become affordable. Rohit, do you want to comment on that? The fact that there's a lot of money that gets demanded for approvals, and that money needs to be paid in black. Where's the money going to come from now?
Faye, in the most recent ease of doing business, India went from 184 in terms of out of 189 in the world to 185 when it comes to dealing with construction permits. So clearly, there's a lot to improve in this space. And I do hope that the government takes this up now at the state and the local levels, because approvals are all at the state and local levels. And there is a list of things which they could do. I hope they just, start doing it. For example, the throughput of approvals per table. If one municipal commissioner just starts tracking that, and developers say, look, we have no cash anymore, and if their projects cannot be slowed down in terms of the approvals through the month of November, through the month of December, through the month of January, we'll start getting rid of this disease of corruption, which is a huge problem to the overall throughput of the industry. Absolutely right, we need to attack this one next.
Well, MP Singh is on the phone line from Chandigarh. Mr. Singh, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Faye and the panelists. I've been watching your debate. You have 7 panelists. 2 have been talking for the crash, and 5 are hoping like hell that there'll be never a crash. The guy with the striped tie has been telling us that it's not going to happen. And one with a purple shirt is showing statistics.
Yes, that's Ramesh Nair, and that's Sunny Katyal in Delhi. Yeah. Go ahead. What's your point? What's your point, Mr. Singh?
Rohit Gera, since he belongs to the industry, is also trying to propagate that it's not going to happen. We are in the month of November. Next month, we'll have to fill in our advanced tax returns. So everyone has to decide whether to take a property or not. When you look at the supply is going to reduce in the market, people have been talking 90 to 95% of cash flows in this industry. Actually, that's a correct figure. Now, if that is going to be squeezed, and therefore no demand is going to be there, I don't know how these guys are going to sustain the prices that they've been talking about. The costing and the pricing of the projects in and around Chandigarh, there's a huge gap. Now, some of the developers have to squeeze their profits and have to.
They have been holding on for the last 2 to 3 years. Now they will have to again hold for 1 or 2 years. I think it is difficult. So the level in next 6 months, I suppose the prices have to fall at least 10 to 15%.
See, Faye, I think a market like Chandigarh would be priced in the 4,000 to 5,000 rupee. 4 to 5,000 rupee range, which is more like Pune, Chennai, Hyderabad. Now, these markets don't have any potential to go down because the construction cost itself in these kind of markets is 2,500, 3,000 rupees.
I think what Mr. Singh is hinting at is not, bringing down prices within the comfort levels of developers. I think he's talking about bringing down prices past the comfort level of developers
in these markets, developers don't have a scope to further reduce their prices. They'll have to sell in losses. They would rather wait.
Why would somebody take it out of their pocket and give you the property, taking a loss in terms of the overall cost structure? It makes no sense. 35% of all apartment costs are taxes today. 35% of all apartment cost goes in taxes of various sorts. There's no question of that coming down. Right?
Can I also explain the nature of this?
Yeah, one second. Sunny Katyal wanted to say something. Sunny Katyal, go ahead.
Yeah, most of the Delhi NCR market, like Noida, you can buy something at 4,500 rupees, ready to move in apartment. If somebody is expecting it will go down by 15-20% now also, it's impossible. You can buy something in Noida extension, which is Greater Noida West, Yamuna, at the rate of 3,000 or maybe 2,800 rupees per square feet.
No, but why is it impossible?
I know from where somebody can say that.
That's a very strong word to use. Why is it impossible in Noida extension?
So there's a background. There's a background to it. All the people, those who are sitting.
Yes.
The nature of this industry
is very different. There's a basic cost of construction, which is if you build a high-rise development, it can't go below 2,000. So there's a land cost, there's a cost of selling, there's a cost of interest, there's a lot of cost. You can't go beyond, below 20.
It's a very different industry. People are not understanding this.
Okay.
If I had a ready stock of apartments and if I'm not able to sell those, then I would reduce prices and sell them. Here I'm selling a promise, Faye. I haven't constructed the apartment. If I'm not going to get my price, I will not build it. That's why the prices will not go down, because these are not built apartments. This is not ready stock. Right? If a developer has to sell apartments which is not built yet at a loss, he will not build it.
Stop construction.
Okay, all right. Anand is on the phone line from Bangalore.
I want to add one point.
Okay, all right. Rohit, go ahead.
So the other thing, Faye, is our markets have got a fair amount of supply now which has come in, which has been delivered. So there is already a very, very active secondary market across the country where people have already bought these homes. Okay, some of them have taken mortgages, some of them have paid the money themselves. You're expecting them to now take, if they want to sell, they will hold their prices up. If they've already paid 50 lakhs for a home, a secondary market guy is not going to come in unless he's desperate for some reason. He's not going to come in and sell his individual home at 40 lakhs.
Here's the question then. Rohit, since you brought that up, most Indians are normally upgrading homes. Ramesh, as the gentleman with the striped tie, I have to give you an opportunity to respond to that. Most Indians are upgrading homes. I buy a 2-bedroom, I sell it and then move into a larger, and sell that one and move into a larger. Now, if the secondary market freezes because nobody wants to sell, and I'm unable to sell, because you're right, why will I sell? I'll just stay in the same house for as long as I need to. How will any Indian upgrade their home? Isn't the secondary and the primary market connected? Let's not pretend like they're two completely separate markets.
They are two separate markets. Today, if you look at it, 20 million homes are required in urban India itself. Why are we forgetting all that? There are a lot of people who need homes. There are a lot of people who are getting into the banking system. Obviously, they'll end up buying home, maybe not today, like Ambar said. Maybe after 2 years, they will buy. But the demand is definitely there. So we need to look at the positives which are going to come in based on this. Look at the risk weightage on real estate as an industry. That will come down, which will make loans more cheaper for developers. Today, the banks are talking about giving money for land acquisition. Institutional capital from foreign direct investments over the last 3 years have gone up from $1.5 to $2.5 to $4.5 billion. Modi making all these rounds across the world is also helping India as an investment destination. Look at the largest office owner in the country today is an American private equity fund, Blackstone. The largest office occupier. If 50% is American companies, let's look at the positives today. Large sovereign pension funds today again are looking at investing in office, retail. I have two people on the phone line. I want to hear their questions.
I just want to say that people are ignoring how important interest rates are. Today, as in literally 23rd of November, your GSEC rates are lower than repo rate. It's only happened thrice in the history of this country. Imagine the kind of downward pressure this is going to put on mortgage rates and interest rates. Very quickly, we're going to have an interest rate scenario which will motivate people. And interest rates are the single biggest factor for housing demand. Your EMIs will reduce drastically, and then people are going to go out and rush and buy apartments.
Right. Uday Wavikar,
I will come on that. Optimism is always good, and I am also optimistic. We are talking of future, but what about today? The impact for next year.
We are talking about next 1 year.
Now let us talk of this. Interest rates, if they are going to reduce, if you are going to get the loans easily, you are talking about the mortgages. You are talking about the banking system. Good enough. But what is the number of the class of executives or corporate sector or IT people are there who are buying the houses in comparison to entire India? Absolutely. 1 minute, let me complete, Mr. Nair. I am going to come to you here. Therefore, you are not going to, go generalize only on the basis of these cream people.
So the second thing was
their position. Please let me finish, because I am an IT executive of TCS. What happens is you keep changing your job so frequently, and as Faye pointed out, you want to move further to a bigger flat. I would sell my flat for a low rate, or I would be desperate if I don't have a job for that purpose and I can't pay the EMIs. Then what happens? So therefore, Mr. Gera said, unless drastically somebody has to sell. But that situation is often because even the markets of these executives are phenomenally drastic in terms of financial position and capacity to pay EMIs. So therefore...
Oh, excuse me, 1 second. In the 2008 meltdown, how many people did we see...
My question to Mr. Gera is, what is the number of percent... Mr. Gera, please answer, what is the percentage number of this class people who can get the mortgages, who can get a clean mortgages with white money or loans?
With 3% to 4% people only paying income tax, and 96% of the Indian populations are not into income tax bracket. 20 million houses that we are talking about is affordable income tax.
What are the capital gains?
Now, right?
The entire point is exactly that. The number of people are very small. As more of them come into the tax net, you'll have more and more of them coming in to buy homes.
That's a good optimism, but it will take time.
It will take time. We are talking about it will take time. Next 1 year.
My point is only this, okay? All I've been saying is there are pressures which are going to cause things to go down. Absolutely. You guys are very optimistic. I'm sure you want to buy a home sometime in the near future. Everybody in this country who's wanting to buy a home currently wants to see the price come down. The moment he buys a home, he wants to see the price go up. This is a fact.
We are talking about end consumers.
It won't be 300%, Mr. Gera now.
We are talking about end consumer. There will not be investors. So naturally, the demand will be slowed down. Investors will be driven.
But there have not been investors in the market for the last 3 or 4 years anyway.
I don't... Okay, Rohit, now you are making blanket statements. I don't think it's fair to say that there haven't been investors in this market for the last couple of years. We know that they have been. All of us who function in this market know that there is unofficial, under-the-table money that goes into the real estate sector for construction.
Yes.
So let's acknowledge that it exists and that it will have to be removed. What happens to the market after it's removed? Anand is on the phone line from Bangalore. Anand, go ahead. What would you like to say?
Hi, good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
I'm talking from Bangalore. I have done a booking of a 3 BHK flat here in Bangalore just before the declaration or the announcement of demonetization.
Yes.
Now, given the current situation, what is your recommendation? Shall I continue with the transaction, or does it make sense for me to hold on for some time?
See, now this is the sentiment we're talking about. Ramesh, Nair, do you want to answer that question? Should he continue with that booking transaction? Or should he pull it back?
Faye, this is exactly the panic which has been created by a lot of equity and stock market gurus on channels like yours over the last 10-15 days. See, whenever you ask...
As a clarification, we don't do stock market and equity on this channel. We do it on
not on this
now.
channel. I've seen you on other channels do that. So whenever you ask an equity expert, today Indians save only $5 billion and put it in mutual funds.
Actually, let's find out. If Anand is still on the phone, Anand, tell me what the nervousness is about. Why are you considering pulling back that purchase? Anand, can you hear me?
I think Anand doesn't need to worry at all about this investment. I'll just come back to that equity point. Indians save only...
I think he needs to worry a little bit.
Okay.
Look, it depends who he's buying this from.
That's correct.
It depends on the stage of the construction of the project.
That's correct.
I'm sorry. On this one point, okay, he must go out, check the track record of the developer. Is there still concrete being poured on the site? If there isn't, he needs to take a break and rethink his decision.
I completely agree with Mr. Gera on this.
Okay, Anand's on the phone line. Anand, what is your concern right now with this project or with this purchase that you've made?
Yes, so a lot of debate that has been happening, and I am actually keeping a watch on a lot of these things. And I have been hearing that there is a possibility of prices getting dropped or
Okay, so you want to take advantage of a possible price drop if that happens. Rohit Gera, very quickly to finish the thought that you had just pointed out. What is the risk right now for Anand if it's not a developer who can manage to tide through this process?
Well, look, if he's going to be a developer who's going to get stuck on cash flows, it's going to delay delivery of the project. Okay, that's going to lead to prices tanking. That's going to lead to, when RERA comes in, depending on all the compensation that he's going to need to pay, that's going to make things very, very difficult for those developers. So it's a difficult, challenging time. So customers need to look at the track record and only look at the safe havens to invest. This is the time to do that. You have to be very, very cautious in these times.
That's correct.
All right, so safe havens.
When we are cautious, actually, we will postpone the demand. We will be postponing our buying decision, which means there is going to be stress in the market. And next,
we come back to the same point. I'm not even going to respond.
Decisions have been postponed for the last 5 years.
Okay, all right. Beg is on the phone line from Hyderabad. Beg, go ahead. What's your question?
Only class will advance.
Yeah, good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
I have been watching the panel from all the TV from such a long time. It's very good to be optimistic, 90% of all you are very showing the optimism, but you have got to be really realistic. Under the present circumstances, I have been watching the real estate game from last 30 years in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
And especially the way the things happen in terms of the payments to the builders, 40, 60, 30, 70. It's definitely going to take an impact under the present circumstances.
That's correct.
But I really fail to understand why this optimism has to be shown. Why not you be realistic? Let's really face it. And it's going to have an impact for at least 2 years. That's what I personally think in the coming 2 years. Till the money gets replenished, till the notes come back into the bank, then the banks are ready to disburse the loans properly. Under the circumstances, if banks are not even able to give proper exchanges,
that's correct.
Then tell me from where are they going to give the loans to you? Where do they have the time?
Right.
To look into these
I
things?
agree with
All right, I want to take one more phone call.
HDFC isn't a bank.
HDFC Bank is a bank, Rohit Gera.
No.
Bhaskar Sharma is on the phone
housing
line.
finance institution isn't a bank. They don't need to. They have no lines outside the HDFC offices. I'm not talking about the bank. There's enough funds available for real estate. Look, Mr. Parekh was on television a couple of days ago, and he said that they're looking at this quarter. Their loan dispersals are not going down. This was the head of HDFC talking about it. I'm not saying this.
Okay, all right. Bhaskar Sharma is on the phone line from Ahmedabad. Bhaskar Sharma, go ahead.
Hi, all.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
We can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, good evening to everyone. And a little bit of background to my profile.
Yes.
I'm a working professional with a monthly income of around 22 lakh rupees in the house. I have been living in a rented house for the last 10 years. And I don't see why should I get into a flat with a loan on my head, taking all the headache of the bank and the builder on my head for the next 20 years. At these rates, when the rents are 25% of that home loan, and I'm living in a bungalow, I get into a flat. Why should I do that? Until unless market doesn't crash. Somebody said there is a demand pending in the system, it will come back. Demand will not come back, sir. There are millions of empty houses which should go on rent, and they will go on rent. Demand was pending if I was living on the street on a tent. I'm not. I don't have a house. My family doesn't have a house. I didn't get a house from my parents. I don't see why should I get into the whole
Good point, Bhaskar.
I'll just add one point here. He said millions of homes lying vacant. I'll just put a number to it. Total unsold inventory in India today is 400,000 units under construction. If you look at completed,
we keep talking about under construction. So what happens, Ramesh Nair, what happens tomorrow if all of the developers in this under construction projects just leave it and say we are not going to finish it? That's what you're talking about, right? If it's not complete, it's not a house. Will then the gentleman who's on the phone line right now, Bhaskar Sharma, will he then suddenly have demand, or will he continue, if the prices hold, to live in the house that he's living in? I'm going to respond to him because he was talking about what you said in particular.
Yeah, so I think this is, very basic question, and which I think is an important one. The reason why you buy a house, and even if you take a loan on it and so on and so forth, is the thesis is that your house will appreciate more than the rate of interest. A. B. The thesis is that the rental yield that you pay on the house versus the EMI or the interest rate on the housing loan is such that after paying a certain amount of margin money, your EMI and your rental should not be too far apart. In fact, the reason why we saw that big boom in 2005, 6, 7, 8 was because interest rates were at 7.5% and rental yields were at 4%. So an average consumer would go out, instead of paying rentals, would pay an EMI because his rental and his EMI are not too far apart. Now, the reason why you take a loan to buy an apartment is for the 20 years that you're going to take a loan and you're going to repay those EMIs, you're building an asset. So at the time when you retire or when you need that big asset, you have access to it because you've been building it for the last 20 years. Your rental is an OPEX, whereas your EMI is going towards building that asset, which at the end of 20 years you'll end up with.
Let's also be honest about the fact that you started this program saying that we are not going to see those kind of returns on that asset class that we saw in the beginning. So there will be other asset classes that will compete with this asset class. So your entire this thing that I'm doing a capex.
Short term versus long term. No, I'm talking 20 years here. If you look at a 20-year time frame,
can you tell me for sure in 20 years that real estate will double my money, triple my money?
You take any 20 years in the history of any country in the world, 20 years, most of the asset classes give you a return which is very, very similar to each other.
No, equity has outdone real estate in 20 years in India.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Equity has outdone real estate in the last 20 years in India.
I disagree.
Okay, that could be a separate, that could be a separate debate. Yes.
Any financial guru can tell you in 20 years, every asset class would pretty much converge towards a similar return, which has to be slightly higher than your inflation, and which has to be very close to the rate of growth in the economy.
I do not agree. If you look at the US economy, the rates have gone down so much. And
I disagree, sir. That's not backed by data at all.
We could start a completely different debate here, but we've run out of time. Anshuman Magazine, closing statements, because I've run out of time on this debate.
No, I'm just saying quickly, this is definitely a big discussion. The fact is, for some people, it does make sense not to buy, but majority of people will buy to create an asset. They'll also buy for getting a sense of security. But these things are going to change. I just want to close by saying what we have seen for last 10, 15 years, or 20 years, or 30 years, our whole economy, our fundamentals have changed. What we're going to see next 10 years, 20 years will be totally different. Unlike the US, where since last 8-10 years, the economy has been growing at, the fundamentals are not changed, you can forecast. In India, the basic fundamentals have changed. So anybody who says who's got 20, 30 years experience, what they've seen, those things are not going to apply going forward. Our market will be more efficient, it'll be more competitive, and I expect with a short-term pain, this will have an impact. But overall, the price increases will be more historical, and there will be more money coming into the real estate market.
All right. Unfortunately, I have to wrap up this debate because we've run out of time. We will continue to talk about real estate. Rohit, I've completely run out of time. We have to end this show right now. Contact details are on your screen. What happens to the real estate market? That's the question that we're asking. And it does seem, of course, that the jury is still out on how this plays out. But we'll keep a really close eye on it for you. Specific markets as well here on Magicbricks Now. Thanks for watching.
You can watch live TV on our website mpnow.in. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Magicbricks Now. And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at Magicbricks Now. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/Magicbricks Now.